I'm Jacob, and this is a glimpse into my life with Kate. We've been happily married for several years, and our life together has been rich with the everyday joys and challenges of raising our two wonderful children, Liam and Olivia. Our home is a warm haven of family dinners, school projects, and laughter. Kate and I share a deep connection, built on years of trust, shared experiences, and unwavering support for each other. Kate has always been driven by a profound passion for environmental issues. Her commitment to ecological causes has been nothing short of remarkable. From organizing local cleanup drives to spearheading community education programs, Kate's work has made a tangible difference in our community. Her dedication was recently recognized with an invitation to a high-profile environmental conference held at a luxurious tropical resort in Hawaii. This opportunity was a significant milestone in her career, and she couldn't have been more thrilled. As the date of the conference approached, Kate was a whirlwind of activity and excitement. She meticulously prepared her presentation on sustainable practices and chose her outfits with great care, knowing that first impressions would matter. The thought of mingling with top environmental experts and sharing her insights with a broader audience filled her with a sense of accomplishment and anticipation. Watching her enthusiasm was a reminder of why I fell in love with her in the first place. In the days leading up to her departure, our home buzzed with the energy of her preparations. We spent our evenings discussing her itinerary, the speakers she was eager to hear, and the impact she hoped her participation would have. Kate's passion was contagious, and I found myself looking forward to her updates with increasing curiosity. It was clear that this conference represented more than just a career achievement. It was a chance for Kate to further her mission of making a positive environmental impact. As Kate's departure date drew nearer, her excitement was palpable. The days were filled with a flurry of activity as she meticulously prepared for the conference. Her usually calm demeanor was replaced with a contagious enthusiasm that seemed to energize our entire household. Kate was busy selecting the perfect outfits, exotic dresses, and stylish accessories that would make her stand out at the conference. Each piece was chosen with great care, reflecting her meticulous nature and her desire to make a memorable impression. Kate spent hours poring over the itinerary, organizing her presentations, and arranging her travel documents. It was clear that this conference was not just another event for her. It was a major milestone in her career. She spoke about it with a kind of reverence, as if it were a golden opportunity to take her work to new heights. Her dedication was evident in the way she spoke passionately about her presentations and the key speakers she hoped to meet. I watched with admiration as she immersed herself in the preparations. Her focus was unwavering, and every detail seemed to be meticulously planned. She was not just preparing for a trip, she was preparing to make a significant impact. Her eyes sparkled with excitement as she talked about the potential connections she could make and the new ideas she hoped to bring back. It was impossible not to be swept up in her enthusiasm, and I found myself eagerly anticipating her updates from Hawaii. Despite her busy schedule, Kate made time for our family, sharing her plans and dreams with us. She included the kids in her preparations, showing them the unique items she had packed and explaining the significance of her trip. It was a reminder of how much she valued her work and her role as a mother. Her ability to balance both aspects of her life with such grace was inspiring. As the day of her departure approached, the atmosphere at home was a mix of excitement and nervous energy. Kate's anticipation was infectious, and I could see how much this opportunity meant to her. Watching her prepare, I felt a deep sense of pride in her accomplishments and a supportive excitement for what lay ahead. Little did I know that this trip would be more than a career highlight. It would be a journey that would challenge and redefine our lives in unexpected ways. The morning of Kate's departure arrived, and the airport was bustling with travelers and the hum of distant conversations. As we approached the check-in counter, I could see the mixture of excitement and apprehension in Kate's eyes. The moment was bittersweet. While I was thrilled for her opportunity, it was hard to part ways, even if just for a few days. We embraced tightly, the warmth of our hug a silent promise of our support for each other. Kate's excitement was evident as she spoke about the conference. She had high hopes for her presentations and the potential connections she would make. Her voice was filled with determination as she mentioned how this event could be a turning point in her career. Her optimism was contagious, and I found myself sharing in her enthusiasm. even as I felt a pang of sadness at the thought of her absence. Before heading to security, Kate handed me a neatly organized folder. Inside was a list of tasks she had meticulously outlined for me, including details about the kids' schedules, household chores, and a few personal notes. Along with this was a detailed plan for how we would stay connected: regular video calls, texts, and emails. Her thoughtfulness in preparing everything so thoroughly was a testament to her dedication to both her family and her work. As we walked toward the departure gate, Kate glanced back and gave me one last reassuring smile. She seemed ready for the adventure ahead, her confidence unshaken. We shared a final kiss and a promise to stay in touch as much as possible. Watching her walk away, I felt a mix of pride and longing. I knew this was an important moment for her, and I was determined to support her in any way I could. With Kate finally through the security checkpoint, I turned to head back to the car, carrying the weight of her departure with me. I felt a deep sense of pride in her achievements and a renewed commitment to managing everything at home while she was away. As I drove back, I found myself looking forward to hearing about her experiences, but also quietly reflecting on how much I would miss her presence in our daily lives. The first call from Kate came in just hours after she arrives in Hawaii. Her voice was brimming with excitement as she described the stunning location of the tropical resort. "Jacob, you wouldn't believe how beautiful it is here," she said, her enthusiasm evident even over the phone. She painted a vivid picture of the lush greenery, the sparkling blue waters, and the elegant architecture of the resort. It was as though I could almost see it through her words. Kate continued to share details about the conference facilities. The grand ballroom where the sessions were being held was adorned with floor-to-ceiling windows that offered panoramic views of the ocean. She spoke of the high-tech amenities and the luxurious accommodations provided to the attendees. The event was as impressive as she had anticipated, and her pride in being part of it was unmistakable. In addition to the conference itself, Kate was thrilled about the various social events planned. She mentioned a welcome reception held on the beach, where guests mingled under the stars with the gentle sound of waves in the background. There was also a gala dinner scheduled at the resort's rooftop restaurant, offering breathtaking views of the sunset. Kate's excitement about these events was palpable. It was clear that they were not just perks, but also integral to her overall experience. Despite the glamorous setting, Kate also noted how busy her schedule was. The days were packed with seminars, workshops, and networking opportunities. Yet she remained enthusiastic and focused, eager to make the most of every moment. She spoke about the inspiring speakers she had already heard and the new ideas she was absorbing. Her commitment to making a meaningful contribution was evident in every word. As our conversation came to an end, Kate reassured me that she was enjoying every aspect of the trip. She promised to keep in touch and share more details as the conference progressed. Her excitement was infectious, and I could feel her joy even from afar. As I hung up the phone, I found myself looking forward to her updates and eagerly awaiting the stories of her adventures in this exotic paradise. Kate's next call came with an added excitement in her voice, a noticeable spark that piqued my curiosity. "Jacob, I have to tell you about someone I've met here," she began, her words rushing out with enthusiasm. She went on to describe her first encounter with Nick, a charismatic environmentalist who had been making waves in the field of ecological innovation. From the way she spoke, it was clear that Nick had made a significant impression on her. Nick was introduced to Kate during one of the conference's networking sessions. He was a dynamic figure, with a magnetic presence that immediately drew people in. His innovative projects and unconventional approaches to environmental issues were topics of conversation, and Kate was captivated by his fresh perspectives. "His ideas are groundbreaking," she said, her voice full of admiration. "He's not just thinking outside the box, he's redefining it." The connection between Kate and Nick extended beyond the conference room. Nick also led guided tours through the tropical rainforest surrounding the resort. Kate eagerly joined one of these excursions, and she described the experience in vivid detail. "Walking through the rainforest with Nick was like stepping into another world," she recounted. "He has such a deep understanding of the ecosystem and a genuine passion for preserving it. His knowledge and enthusiasm were truly inspiring." As they explored the lush greenery, Nick shared insights about the delicate balance of the rainforest and the innovative techniques he was developing to address environmental challenges. Kate was particularly impressed by his hands-on approach and his ability to make complex ecological concepts accessible and engaging. He doesn't just talk about solutions, he shows us how they can be implemented in real time, she explained, clearly moved by the experience. By the end of the call, Kate was full of excitement about the potential collaborations and ideas she hoped to pursue with Nick. She spoke of the possibility of working together on future projects and how much she valued his perspective. As she ended the conversation, I could sense her enthusiasm and anticipation for the days ahead. It was clear that Nick had not only enriched her conference experience, but also left a lasting impact on her professional outlook. As the conference continued, Kate's collaboration with Nick blossomed into a significant project focused on preserving the local flora. Their work centered around a new initiative aimed at saving endangered plant species native to the area. Kate was thrilled by the opportunity to work closely with someone whose expertise and passion matched her own. "Jacob, this project is incredible," she told me, her voice brimming with excitement. "Nick and I are making strides." The scope of their project required them to spend long hours together, both in meetings and in the field. They often ventured into the rainforest to assess the health of various plant species and to brainstorm conservation strategies. Their shared dedication to the cause brought them closer, and Kate spoke of their time together with a mixture of professional admiration and personal warmth. "We're making great progress," she said, "but it's not just about the work, it's about the way we work together." Beyond their formal meetings, Kate and Nick enjoyed relaxing moments together. Evening strolls along the beach became a regular part of their routine. They would walk side by side, discussing their day's achievements and sharing their thoughts under the vast starry sky. These quiet, reflective times allowed them to bond on a deeper level, away from the pressures of their project. "There's something special about those walks," Kate confided. "The beach is so peaceful, and it's the perfect setting for our late-night talks." Their late-night discussions often extended well into the early hours, filled with ideas and plans for their conservation efforts. The tranquility of the resort's surroundings provided a backdrop for their conversations, making each exchange feel intimate and significant. Kate's excitement was palpable as she shared snippets of their conversations, revealing how much she valued Nick's insights and perspectives. "He has such a unique way of thinking," she said. "It's inspiring to see how our ideas come together." By the time Kate and Nick wrapped up their collaborative efforts, they had not only made substantial progress on their project, but had also developed a close friendship. Kate's admiration for Nick was evident in every conversation, and it was clear that their partnership had been both professionally rewarding and personally enriching. As she prepared for the final days of the conference, Kate reflected on the meaningful connections she had made and the lasting impact of their shared work. As the conference neared its end, Kate's updates took on a more personal tone. Her calls were filled with excited descriptions of the frequent excursions she and Nick had been taking into the more secluded parts of the tropical rainforest. Each trip seemed to reveal new layers of the jungle's beauty and offered a sense of adventure that Kate eagerly shared with me. "Jacob, you wouldn't believe how magical these places are," she said, her voice tinged with awe. Kate spoke of their visits to hidden waterfalls and serene, untouched clearings, where the vibrant flora and fauna created a breathtaking backdrop for their explorations. The intimacy of these settings seemed to deepen their connection, and Kate's descriptions of these moments were often accompanied by a sense of romanticism. "It feels like we're discovering a secret world together," she noted. "It's so peaceful and enchanting." The romantic atmosphere of these excursions was something Kate highlighted with particular enthusiasm. She described how the gentle rustling of leaves and the dappled sunlight filtering through the canopy created a dreamlike ambiance. Their walks through these hidden corners of the rainforest were filled with shared reflections and quiet conversations, which Kate found both comforting and exhilarating. "There's something incredibly special about being alone in such a beautiful place," she confided. One evening, Kate mentioned a particularly memorable trip to a secluded grove, where they had set up a small picnic. Under the canopy of stars, surrounded by the sounds of the rainforest, the setting was both intimate and breathtaking. The way she described the experience, savoring the moment, sharing stories, and simply enjoying each other's company, revealed how much she had come to value these moments of closeness. "It was like a scene from a romantic movie," she said, her voice filled with nostalgia. As Kate wrapped up her stories, I could sense a shift in the way she spoke about her time with Nick. While she remained enthusiastic about their project and the conference, there was an unmistakable undercurrent of affection in her words. It was clear that these intimate moments in the rainforest had created a unique and profound connection between them, one that she was both excited and deeply moved by. In one of our recent conversations, Kate's tone carried a mix of excitement and something I couldn't quite place. She started recounting a special evening when Nick had invited her to watch the sunset from a private beach. "Jacob, it was one of the most breathtaking experiences I've ever had," she said, her voice filled with wonder. She described the scene in vivid detail, the sky painted with hues of pink and orange, the gentle waves lapping against the shore, and the serene beauty of the setting sun. The way Kate spoke about the moment was evocative. She described the tranquility of the private beach, away from the bustle of the resort, and how the shared experience felt deeply personal. "We talked about everything and nothing at all, just soaking in the beauty of the sunset," she said. There was a sense of intimacy in her words, as if she was reliving the experience with a profound sense of connection. However, as she continued to describe the evening, I couldn't ignore a subtle shift in her voice. There was a peculiar quality to her tone, a kind of hesitation that I hadn't noticed before. She spoke with genuine admiration for the setting and the moment, but seemed unusually guarded about the details of the evening. It was as if she was choosing her words carefully, perhaps to mask something she wasn't quite ready to share. Despite the enchanting imagery and her clear excitement, I found myself feeling uneasy. The combination of her glowing description of the sunset and the strange inflection in her voice made me wonder if there was more to the story. Kate's enthusiasm for the beauty of the moment was undeniable, but the underlying tone left me with a lingering sense of curiosity and concern. As the conversation ended, I was left contemplating the significance of that evening. The private beach and the sunset seemed to have been a pivotal experience for Kate, but the odd note in her voice hinted at complexities beyond the surface. I hoped that she would eventually share more about the true nature of her feelings and experiences, but for now, the moment remained shrouded in both beauty and ambiguity. As the days went by, I couldn't help but notice a change in Kate's communication patterns. What had once been a frequent and enthusiastic exchange of updates began to dwindle. Her calls became less frequent, and when we did speak, the conversations were shorter and more surface level. The vibrant, detailed accounts of her experiences were replaced by brief, somewhat vague responses. "It's been really busy here," she would say, her voice betraying an exhaustion that seemed out of proportion to the work she described. Whenever I inquired about the specifics of her days, Kate's answers became increasingly evasive. She would deflect my questions with comments about her packed schedule or her need to rest. "I'm just so tired from all the sessions and activities," she would explain. While I understood that the conference was demanding, her reluctance to share details and her tendency to avoid direct answers began to raise concerns. The shift in her openness was noticeable and unsettling. Her recent descriptions of the conference and her interactions with Nick were notably less detailed. Whereas before she had eagerly shared her experiences and insights, now her updates were brief and often centered around how worn out she felt. It was as if she was distancing herself from our conversations, focusing more on her fatigue than on the excitement she had once expressed. This change in tone was hard to ignore and left me feeling increasingly uneasy. I also began to sense a certain tension in our interactions. The warmth and connection that had characterized our conversations seemed to have diminished, replaced by a more guarded and distant demeanor. Kate's frequent mentions of being overwhelmed by her schedule seemed like a convenient cover for something more troubling. My concern grew as I wondered whether there were underlying issues she wasn't ready to address. As I reflected on these developments, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was amiss. Kate's transformation from an enthusiastic, engaged communicator to someone who seemed distant and elusive was alarming. I hoped that the intense nature of the conference was the root of her behavior, but the signals she was sending made me question whether there was more to the story. One evening, while scrolling through social media to catch up on some news, I stumbled upon something that would change everything. I came across a series of photos posted on Kate's account from the conference. At first, I thought nothing of it, but as I began to look closer, I noticed that many of the pictures featured Kate and Nick together. They were smiling widely, their closeness evident in the way they interacted. In some of the photos, they were engaged in casual conversation, while in others, they were simply enjoying the events, appearing genuinely happy. The images were accompanied by comments and tags from other conference attendees, many of which seemed to highlight the special bond between Kate and Nick. Phrases like "great duo" and "such a fantastic pair" were sprinkled throughout, and several messages suggested that they were inseparable throughout the event. The lighthearted tone of the comments was deceptive. They carried an undercurrent that hinted at a deeper connection between them. I felt a wave of unease wash over me as I continued to examine the photos. There was an undeniable intimacy in the way Kate and Nick were pictured, something that went beyond mere friendship or professional collaboration. They appeared to be more than just colleagues, and the way they leaned into each other or laughed together hinted at a level of comfort and closeness that seemed inconsistent with the way Kate had described their interactions in our conversations. The realization hit me hard. I had been trying to reconcile Kate's recent distant behavior with the enthusiastic accounts she had once shared. Seeing these photos and the comments attached to them provided a jarring contrast to the explanations I had been given. The images suggested that there was more to their relationship than Kate had been willing to disclose, and it became clear that my suspicions might be justified. Feeling a mix of betrayal and confusion, I struggled to process what I had discovered. The photos and the implications they carried were a stark revelation of something that had been concealed. As I contemplated the situation, I knew that I needed to address this with Kate directly. The accidental discovery had unearthed a truth that could no longer be ignored, and I was left grappling with the consequences of this newfound awareness. My heart pounded as I dialed Kate's number, the weight of my discovery pressing heavily on my chest. When she answered, her voice was as warm as ever, but there was an underlying tension that I couldn't ignore. "Hi, Jacob," she said, trying to sound casual. I could tell that she sensed something was off, and I decided to confront the issue directly. "Kate, I need to talk to you about something," I began, struggling to keep my voice steady. "I saw some photos online from the conference, and I noticed that you and Nick were very close, maybe even more than just friends." I paused, waiting for her reaction. The silence on the other end of the line felt like an eternity. There was a long moment of hesitation before Kate spoke again. "Jacob, it's not what you think," she said, her voice wavering slightly. "Nick and I did spend a lot of time together, but it was all in the context of the conference and the project." Her attempts at reassurance were not convincing, and I could sense that she was struggling to find the right words. As I pressed her further, asking about the nature of their relationship and the intimacy evident in the photos, Kate's defenses began to crumble. "Okay, you're right," she admitted finally, her voice cracking. "It's true that Nick and I have developed a connection that goes beyond just friendship. It started with our work together, but it became something more." Her confession was heavy, and the admission left me feeling both shocked and heartbroken. The call ended with a profound sense of uncertainty and pain. Kate's acknowledgement of a deeper relationship with Nick was a devastating blow, and I was left grappling with the implications of her revelation. As I hung up, the reality of the situation settled in, and I faced the difficult task of processing what had been revealed and deciding how to move forward from here. The day Kate returned home was a blur of anxiety and anticipation. The house, usually a sanctuary of warmth and familiarity, felt alien and cold as I paced restlessly. Each passing minute seemed to stretch into eternity, my thoughts a chaotic mix of fear, sadness, and hope. The quietness of the house was deafening, a stark contrast to the usual noise of our busy lives. When the door finally opened, the sight of Kate brought a rush of conflicting emotions. Her face, tired and lined with worry, looked both familiar and foreign. We exchanged the usual greetings, but the words felt hollow and insincere. Kate's smile, once a beacon of joy, now seemed strained. She seemed to carry an emotional burden that she could not easily set down. I motioned for us to sit in the living room, a space that had always been a retreat from the outside world, but now felt like a stage for an inevitable confrontation. The air was thick with unspoken tension as we took our seats, the silence between us heavy and fraught with expectation. I broke the silence with a voice that barely masked my anxiety. "Kate, we need to talk about what happened at the conference," I said, my tone a mixture of firmness and trepidation. The gravity of the conversation was palpable, and I could see Kate brace herself for what was to come. She nodded, taking a deep breath as if to prepare herself for a difficult but necessary discussion. Her gaze was fixed on the floor, a sign of both contemplation and discomfort. Kate began recounting her experiences with a level of raw honesty that was both painful and illuminating. She explained how her excitement about the conference had initially focused on the professional aspects, the groundbreaking conservation project, the chance to work with like-minded individuals, and the opportunity to contribute to a cause she was passionate about. Nick and I started working closely together, and I was captivated by his dedication and innovative ideas, she said. We spent countless hours discussing our project, and I was genuinely impressed by his knowledge and commitment. As the conference progressed, Kate described how their relationship evolved from professional collaboration to a more personal connection. She spoke of the long days they spent in the rainforest, the quiet moments of reflection, and the shared sense of purpose that brought them closer. "It was a whirlwind of emotions," Kate admitted. "The more time we spent together, the more I realized that my feelings for Nick were shifting. It wasn't just admiration, it became something deeper." The pivotal moment she described was their private sunset on the beach, a scene that had initially sounded idyllic and romantic. That evening, as we sat on the secluded beach, everything felt perfect, Kate said, her voice wavering. The beauty of the sunset and the intimacy of the moment made me see Nick in a new light. It was like a barrier had come down, and I felt a profound connection with him. Her description was vivid, but it also carried an undercurrent of regret and recognition of how that moment had blurred the lines between friendship and something more. Kate's confession was accompanied by tears and a heartfelt apology. "I should have been honest with you from the start," she said, her voice breaking. "I didn't want to hurt you, and I was afraid of facing the reality of my feelings. I got caught up in the intensity of the situation and didn't handle it well." Her words were a mixture of remorse and self-awareness, revealing the internal conflict she had experienced. We spent hours talking, exploring the depths of her feelings for Nick and the impact of her actions on our relationship. Kate shared her emotional turmoil and the difficulty she faced in reconciling her actions with her love for me. The conversation was a mix of painful revelations and tentative understanding, as we both grappled with the reality of the situation. We discussed the implications for our marriage, the future of our relationship, and the possibility of healing. As the evening drew to a close, there was a tentative sense of resolution, though the road ahead remained uncertain. The raw honesty of Kate's confession had provided a foundation for addressing the deep rifts in our relationship. The conversation had been both cathartic and challenging, offering a glimpse of potential reconciliation, but also underscoring the magnitude of the betrayal. With the emotional weight of the discussion hanging heavy, we faced the daunting task of navigating the complexities of our marriage and deciding how to move forward from here. In the aftermath of our heart-wrenching confrontation, Kate and I faced the daunting task of rebuilding our relationship. The intensity of the emotions we had both experienced left us exhausted and unsure of how to move forward. The initial shock and pain of betrayal had given way to a deep-seated uncertainty about our future. We realized that if we were to salvage what was left of our marriage, we needed professional help. After some discussion, we decided to seek the guidance of a family therapist. The decision to start therapy was not made lightly. It required a mutual agreement that both of us were willing to confront our issues head-on and make a concerted effort to heal. We found a well-regarded therapist who specialized in relationship counseling and set up our first appointment. The prospect of sitting in a room with a stranger while discussing our most intimate problems was daunting, but we both understood that it was a necessary step toward understanding and recovery. Our first session was a mix of apprehension and tentative hope. The therapist, Dr. Johnson, welcomed us with a calm and non-judgmental demeanor, which helped to ease some of the tension. She began by asking us to share our perspectives on what had led us to this point. Kate spoke first, her voice tinged with remorse as she recounted the events that had transpired and her struggles with her feelings for Nick. She expressed a sincere desire to work through her mistakes and rebuild the trust that had been shattered. Her willingness to be open about her emotions and shortcomings was a crucial step in the healing process. As Kate spoke, I listened with a mix of skepticism and longing for clarity. I grappled with my feelings of betrayal and hurt, trying to reconcile Kate's apologies with the depth of my pain. It was clear that rebuilding trust would not be a quick or easy process. Dr. Johnson guided us through discussions about the nature of trust, forgiveness, and the steps needed to address the underlying issues in our relationship. The sessions were emotionally charged, but they provided a structured environment where we could explore our feelings and begin to understand each other's perspectives. Throughout the therapy, Kate made a concerted effort to demonstrate her commitment to change. She engaged in the exercises recommended by Dr. Johnson, worked on improving communication, and took responsibility for her actions. Her dedication to the process was evident, and while it didn't erase the past, it showed a genuine effort to address her mistakes. I, on the other hand, struggled with my reservations. I wanted to believe in the possibility of forgiveness and renewal, but the road to rebuilding trust was fraught with doubts and fears. The process of healing required me to confront my insecurities and to consider whether I could find it within myself to trust Kate again. As weeks turned into months, we continued our sessions with Dr. Johnson, gradually making progress. The therapy provided us with tools to improve our communication, manage conflicts, and work through our emotions. We learned to navigate the complexities of our relationship with greater understanding and empathy. Although the path to recovery was not linear and setbacks were inevitable, the therapy offered a structured approach to addressing our issues and moving forward. By the end of our sessions, we had made significant strides in understanding each other's needs and perspectives. While the journey of rebuilding our relationship was far from complete, the therapy had laid a foundation for healing. Kate's commitment to addressing her mistakes and my willingness to work through my feelings of betrayal were crucial in this process. As we looked ahead, we knew that the road to recovery would be ongoing, but the support of our therapist and our mutual dedication to the relationship provided a glimmer of hope for a future together. As the months passed and the dust began to settle from the storm of our recent upheaval, Kate and I found ourselves at a crossroads. The journey of therapy had not only illuminated the cracks in our relationship, but had also given us tools to repair and rebuild. With a renewed sense of purpose and commitment, we decided it was time to turn the page and start a new chapter in our lives together. This chapter would be centered around rebuilding trust, deepening our connection, and creating a fresh start for our family. One of the most significant changes that Kate and I agreed upon was her decision to step away from her job. This decision was not made lightly, but it was driven by a desire to realign her priorities and focus on what truly mattered to us as a family. Kate's role in the environmental field had been a source of pride and fulfillment for her, but it had also created a distance between us, with long hours and frequent travels taking a toll on our relationship. By leaving her job, Kate hoped to dedicate more time to our family and contribute to the healing process in a meaningful way. The decision to leave her job was accompanied by a mix of emotions for Kate. There was a sense of loss for the career she had built and the work that had been a significant part of her identity. At the same time, there was an overwhelming sense of relief and anticipation. Kate looked forward to being more present with the children and me, to engage more actively in our daily lives, and to focus on personal growth. It was a bold move, one that symbolized her commitment to making amends and rebuilding the foundations of our relationship. In the wake of Kate's career shift, we began to focus on practical steps to strengthen our connection. We started to prioritize quality time together, setting aside regular family activities and date nights to rekindle the intimacy that had been strained. The daily routines that had once felt monotonous now took on new significance as we made an effort to enjoy and appreciate each other's company. We took up new hobbies together, explored local attractions, and dedicated ourselves to creating positive experiences as a family. Kate's increased presence at home allowed her to engage more deeply with the children, strengthening her bond with them and contributing to a more harmonious family environment. Her involvement in their daily routines, from school activities to bedtime stories, helped to reinforce her commitment to our family. This newfound balance also allowed me to see her in a new light, as a partner who was actively working to mend the rift that had separated us. As we navigated this new phase, we also continued to build on the lessons learned from therapy. Open communication became a cornerstone of our relationship, and we worked diligently to address any lingering issues with honesty and understanding. Trust was rebuilt gradually, and each small step forward was celebrated as a victory. The process was not without its challenges, but the effort we put into nurturing our relationship paid off in meaningful ways. Our new chapter was characterized by a renewed sense of togetherness and shared purpose. We were no longer just moving forward from a painful past. We were actively shaping a future that was built on mutual respect, understanding, and commitment. Kate's decision to focus on our family and the changes we made in our daily lives were steps toward creating a stronger, more resilient relationship. As we look to the future, we embraced the opportunity to build a life that was not only healed from past wounds, but also enriched by the lessons we had learned along the way. As we navigated the months following Kate's career change and our commitment to rebuilding our relationship, we began to see the fruits of our labor. Our days were now filled with moments of genuine connection and mutual support. The echoes of past hurts were still present, but they no longer defined our interactions. Instead, we focused on creating a future rooted in trust and understanding. Each step we took together, from simple conversations to shared experiences, reinforced our commitment to one another and our belief in the possibility of a renewed bond. We continued to work on our relationship through open communication and intentional actions. The therapy sessions provided us with valuable tools, but it was the daily practice of empathy and patience that truly made a difference. We learned to appreciate the small victories, whether it was a heartfelt conversation or a quiet moment of togetherness. The effort we invested in our relationship began to bear fruit, and we found ourselves growing closer in ways we hadn't thought possible. The renewed connection we shared was a testament to our resilience and dedication. The process of rebuilding was not without its setbacks, but each challenge we faced became an opportunity for growth. We learned to navigate conflicts with a new perspective, understanding that they were part of the journey rather than obstacles. Our shared experiences, from family outings to quiet evenings at home, helped solidify the foundation we were building. The challenges of the past became lessons that guided us toward a more fulfilling and connected future. As we moved forward, we held on to a sense of hope and optimism. The journey had been arduous, but it had also been transformative. We faced our difficulties with honesty and commitment, and we emerged stronger for it. Our relationship was no longer defined by past mistakes, but by our shared determination to create a future built on mutual respect and love. With each passing day, we grew closer, finding joy in the everyday moments and embracing the promise of a future together, enriched by the lessons of the past.